10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Awesome, guys. So, welcome. All right. My name is Yamali Suero. Yes, I was a part of a not-for-profit medical that does like career counseling. Now I've moved on to another nonprofit where I run programs that help people find employment.
Looking for the best music for your videos?
And today I'm
Then you should
doing
check
a
out
career
Artists.
pathways designed for
Ladies and
those of
gentlemen,
you who are
I give you
entering the workforce,
freedom.
re-entering the workforce, and also possibly thinking about school. Okay, so since we kind of already went through introductions, I was going to do an activity, but I am going to share this this PowerPoint presentation. I am going to send it to Lenny, and then he can share it with the rest of the congregation. If you guys want to revisit this for tips, because I have some things in there that will answer some of your questions, some of the questions that you guys had.
Go to Artists now and start creating.
So we're gonna, this is just what I was gonna do with you guys, but it's a goal setting activity. So if you were a little unsure of what it was in terms of a career that you wanted to do, sit with yourself and imagine this, use your imagination and put yourself through the scenario. And then after you write this down, you would be able to see, okay, well, I'm kind of pointing toward this direction in terms of a career. But we're not going to do that today for the purposes of time, but I definitely encourage everyone to do this on their own. Sit with it, let it marinate, and then notice what direction or directions that points you in, right? So we're going to jump straight into the types of career pathways, okay? So the first ones are kind of the more obvious ones, all right? There's the college route and there's the vocational route. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, college, that's pretty self-explanatory. So 2 years is community college, where like the most you'll get is an associate's degree. A 4-year program is one that's like a bachelor's degree, where you would get a bachelor's degree. And then a 6-year program is something like medical school or a physical therapist or occupational therapist, something that requires you to get extensive education, licensing, and actual hands-on practice in order to fulfill that career. Now, notice that I said 2, 4, or 6-year investment. So what do I mean by that? Education is an investment in yourself, okay? Without one, yes, you are able to get a job without a college degree, without a vocational training or certification or license. But the difference, if I want you guys to notice this, there's an actual statistic that I put at the bottom of the screen. College or professionally certified workers can make up to 60% more in salary versus just a plain high school graduate. And we're not even gonna get into the numbers of not having a high school diploma, okay? But just that statistic alone should show you the value of an education. And notice I only didn't say college, I said professionally certified, meaning that you don't have to do a 2-year, a 4-year, or 6-year school investment if that's not something that you honestly, realistically have the time for. If you want to do a vocational school, you can also do that. It's a shorter time span, as you guys see there, 6 months to a 2-year investment, okay? But what I'm saying with all of this is that if you invest in your own professional development, that will return a higher salary and with it, a better quality of life. And it all ties back to that envisioning the future activity that I had earlier for you guys. But let's go over some of these tips that I put here just to explain, okay? So let's say you decide I'm gonna do the college route, okay? Number one, all of these tips, by the way, I'm sharing with you because I wish somebody told me this when I was in high school, okay? Things would have been a lot different for me and a lot less debt, I can tell you that. A lot less student loan debt for sure. If someone had sat me aside and actually told me, look, this is what it is, okay? Number one, public universities are more cost effective than private schools. So someone earlier asked me, like, is it much of a difference whether you go to a public university or a private university? This is my opinion, okay? In terms of universities, public versus private, if you have a full scholarship to go to an Ivy League school, and what are the Ivy League schools? Yale, Harvard, Brown, Princeton, those kinds of schools, you have a full-blown scholarship to go. Definitely, it's worth it. Go do your education at an Ivy League school, because ultimately when you put that name on the resume, yeah, that's going to turn some heads. I'm not even going to lie to you on that. That's the truth. Okay. Now, everybody else, to be quite honest, the employer is more concerned about your GPA score than they are about where you went to school. That's the honest to God truth. And before there was a stigma about whether you got your degree done at like Phoenix University or something, some online or a Kaplan, now 2020, and with everything that has happened, they are completely overlooking that. What they are looking at though is, what's your GPA? Did you graduate with a 2.0 or a 4.0? I don't care if you got your bachelor's degree from a CUNY. That doesn't make a difference to me. Google will tell you that. I don't care about that. What was your GPA? That's what they're gonna ask you, okay? That's what matters. Now, the only reason why I'm saying if you can go public school, because we're talking about a difference between $3,000 or $4,000 a year versus $33,000 a year and up, okay? So that's my first point to you guys. The second one, contrary to popular belief, don't rush to pick a major. And this is what I'm gonna tell you. When you're 17, 18 years old, you are just getting out of high school. You are just getting into what we call the real world, right? Pressuring you to pick a major that you're not even sure about whether you want to do it or not. You're just going to do it because you want to satisfy someone, be that your mom, your dad, family members, peer pressure, your own friends telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that major, you should do another major. Don't do that to yourself, because the worst thing that could happen is that you pay for a 4-year program, and at the end of that program ends up feeling like, why did I even do this? I hate this career. I don't even want to do this for the rest of my life. But I'm a senior now. Like, I can't switch my major now. Don't do it to yourself. You have 2 years in your college life, whether you do an associate's or a bachelor's degree. Those first 2 years, you're focused on completing your core subjects anyway, your math, your sciences, your languages. You'll take 1 or 2 courses that are really geared toward your major, but you're not actually paying for your, what they consider major classes until your junior or senior year. So you have time to decide what major you would like to explore, and how you do that is by taking different classes. Especially if you're in a community college, they give you a whole sample of things that you might want to try before you actually declare a major. So that's the second thing I'm going to tell you guys, is that don't rush into picking a major. Give yourself the time to explore different type of courses and classes so you can kind of get a feel of, okay, this does work for me, or no, this does not work for me, before you actually declare a major. And again, this is for folks who are going toward the college route. Paying tuition. Guys, please do not ask your parents to sign a PLUS loan, okay? Do not bury yourself. Just sign the bottom of the line, and all you have is loans, 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 all across that financial aid award letter, okay? Now, for those of you who don't know that, when you apply to a school and you get accepted, they give you what's called a financial aid award letter, in which they tell you how much the school is willing to give you to go to school there in order for you to pay for your tuition and enroll into your classes for the year. The problem with that is many students, and sometimes many parents, because maybe this is the first time your child is going to school, and you may not have experience with any of this stuff. So you're just going by whatever your daughter or your son is saying, Mom, just sign it. Dad, just sign it. I want to start school in September. Just sign whatever they ask you to sign. Not realizing that not only are you burying your parents in debt, you're also burying yourself in debt. Okay? Take a look at that financial award letter. If the more you see grants, Pell grants, TAP grants, scholarships, awards, that's all free money. And with that alone, you can actually pay the tuition of a CUNY or a SUNY without going into student loan debt. Because I will tell you something, if you're going for a master's, yeah, there you will, unfortunately, if you don't have the money to pay for it, you will have to take out a loan. But don't take out a loan for your undergrad. That's terrible financial sense, all right? So in terms of paying your tuition, try to get those scholarships. Sign up for those grants. Take a look at that award letter before you sign off on those student loans and ask the admissions people and the financial aid counselor, this says loan. What does this mean? When am I supposed to start paying this? What is the interest on this? And even if you take those loans, because I've seen this a lot too, you take those loans, you get this refund check, but guess what? You're paying that money back, all of it, when you get out. And that's a serious bill, okay? Don't put yourself in debt, all right? Take a look at your financial award letter. Another tip, you are paying for every class you fail, and this is just going back to what I was talking about with taking on student loan debt and then deciding, oh, you know what? I don't feel like going to this class, or I'm kind of tired. I don't, I don't like this course, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fail the class. I prefer you withdraw from that class instead of failing that class, because for every failure, not only does that bring down your GPA, which you need for your financial aid, but you're also paying for a class that now doesn't have any credit. You gave away thousands of dollars for a class that you were willing to fail, okay? So that is something keep in mind for those of you who go the college route, okay? And then lastly, keep your GPA up above a 3.0 to make sure you keep your financial aid. And again, that's going back to what I was saying about financial literacy and starting school, okay? Vocational school, all right? This is for anyone who's thinking about becoming like electricians, construction people, tradesmen, journeymen, welders, carpenters, and not only that, in the medical field too, certifications as a central, like a sterilization tech, okay? A medical tech of some sort, which also make a very decent amount of money, especially if you're in the union. Trade school is worth the investment as well, okay? But just make sure that if you're gonna go to a vocational school, make sure, guys, please, make sure that it is accredited by the state in which you plan on living in. I cannot say that enough. I know plenty of people who went to Catherine Gibbs, Interborough, TCI, and when these schools ended up shutting down, not only did they not get their money back, but now their certifications don't mean anything. They can't even no one can call, an employer can't call to verify that your certification is valid because you went to these predatory schools that weren't accredited, okay? So when you can choose this route as well. If you don't want to do the college route, fine, but you have to make sure it's accredited by the state you're going to work in, all right? And then lastly, of course, be aware of any debt any loan debt. Notice that I didn't say student loan debt. There's a reason for that. Beware of accumulating loan debt with an unaccredited, a predatory school, basically. But there's a reason why I didn't say student loan debt. Is because financial aid, the aid that the government gives you to go to school, does not cover trade school or vocational school. So if you're going to go to put in 6 months or whatever amount of time to do these certifications, that means you are paying out of pocket for this. Make sure that at the end of that program, you are getting a license or a certification that is valid in the state of New York. Remember that, okay? Otherwise, you're throwing your money away, okay? And burying yourself in debt, which is what has our communities in a financial crisis, all right? Any questions? I'm going to stop here for a minute. Any questions so far about the education route, which is college and the vocational trade schools? Anything at all? You can unmute, you can raise your hand, put it in the chat. Anything at all before I move forward, because I'm just taking a look at the time. No? Okay. So we're going to keep going. All right. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Let's keep it going, guys. All right. And then lastly is the employment pathway. So let's say you decide, I don't really know what I want to do in school, and that's a lot of money for me to invest. I just prefer to work. And maybe financially for your family, that's what makes sense right now. That's practical, right? So if you've never worked before, I want you guys to consider this. Number one important document that you're going to need to search for a job is a resume. Now, a lot of people have a problem putting together a resume because they're like, I've never worked. Yo nunca he trabajado en mi vida. Like, that's never going to happen. Like, what am I supposed to put on this piece of paper? Think about all the things that you participated in outside of school. Did you have any after school extracurricular activities? Did you volunteer anywhere? Did you do any type of side hustling? You know, maybe you baked and sold cookies or help people with their computers and fix it on the side. Were you in any sports? Were you in any projects? Were you in church volunteering in any kind of way, running a Zoom meeting to make sure you engage the congregation? That's all skills that you can put on your resume. So don't sit there and say, I've never worked a day in my life. Yes, you have. You just don't call it work. That's what it is. But that goes on your resume. That shows character. That shows that you were doing something else other than just, I'm going to go to school because mom and dad told me to go. And that's it. You know? Personality goes a long way, guys. I can't tell you how many times I have interviewed people for a customer service job. Something is that basic. And I asked them, so what are, you know, tell me a little about yourself. I'm energetic. Does that sound energetic to you? I don't think so. I have a personality. Smile. It doesn't kill you to do that. It goes a long way. As a matter of fact, the way I got my first job, and I didn't have any experience at all, the way I got my first job was cracking a joke at the assistant manager at a Burger King. That was it. If you can believe that. So yeah, having a personality definitely goes a long way. Just be bubbly, just be, you know, a presence. Punctuality, dependability, and hardworking. Guys, I hate to say it, but this is a given. Have you ever gone to a place and told an employer, well, I'm not exactly punctual. I have a problem with being on time to work. Or, you know, when you say hardworking, do you have an option to say, actually, I'm not hardworking? You know, I'm just not that kind of person. But I get here on time, though. Like, what employer you know is going to hire a person that says that? All right. Punctuality, dependability, and hardworking is just the bare minimum of what they're looking for in an employee. All right. But how do you gain those skills? You gain them by actually doing entry-level work. Like at the bottom, guys, grunt work, Burger King, McDonald's, right? Sweeping floors, throwing out trash. Yeah, that builds character. And I'm saying be open to it, which is my next point. A lot of the times when I speak to the youth nowadays, when I ask them, so what do you want to do? I want to be the next millionaire. Okay, great. So what have you done for me to justify $1 million paycheck? Nothing, I'm just great. That's the answer, right? No, you have to be open to the experiences because this is really the only way you're actually going to know what you want in terms of a career. And this is kind of going back to what Edward was kind of saying, like, you don't choose a job chooses you. And the thing is that picking a career isn't a straight line. You have to try a couple of different things. You have to sample a couple of different things in order for you to get a grasp of what that career looks like for you. The right career for you is going to speak to you. Internally, you're going to feel it. Like, yes, you know what? I love doing this. I would love to do this for a living. Like, I could do this for the rest of my life and not get bored. Like, this is perfect. But the only way that you're going to do that is by actually trying different things, being open to trying different types of experience in order to find the career that you finally want to land on, right? And it's a calling. It's going to call to you. It's going to talk to you when you do find it. It's internal. Trust me. You'll be like, yes, this is what I want to do, right? And then lastly, the point that I'm going to make here, and then I'm going to open the floor up for questions. Schooling is the priority, folks. Remember that. Even if you start working and you decide, okay, I'm just going to make a little bit of money, don't stay complacent there, because I'll tell you what'll happen. I know people who've worked in the same place for 30 years, their whole life doing the same thing. They were complacent. They're like, I didn't need school. I don't need to do any of that. I'm staying in this job. I'm good. But what just happened? COVID hit. And what happened? Their job that they were secure in, that they were waiting for a pension to collect to go retire, is gone with the wind. That's what they were depending on, though. And what happens? Now they find themselves in a place where they have to look for another job. But when they look at the resume and say, wait a minute, so you have all this experience, but you only have a high school diploma and you want me to pay you 90K, 100K, 150K. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. You don't have a college degree. We can't. If anything, if they like you, they'll lowball you. They'll say, yes, we put this job at 150K, but because you don't have a college degree, we could start you off with 45. That's ridiculous, right? I know I saw some of you were like, what? Yeah, because that's what we're in right now. Gone are the days where you could work at a place for 30 years and that loyalty will somehow come back to you. That is not the world we live in anymore. You have to be adaptable. You have to be flexible, right? But that's why I said, don't keep your eyes off the prize. Schooling is everything, okay? You're paying for it. So make sure that every credit counts, but we already discussed that in the beginning. Employment is important, but don't overextend yourself. If you end up working full-time and going to school full-time, not saying that it can't be done, but you're not focusing on the prize. End up getting D's and C's only to have a GPA as a 2.0 when you graduate. You did all of that only to be told, like, what is this? You got a degree, but you basically graduated with a D minus. You barely scraped by. It's not very impressive. You have to keep your eyes on the prize. So part-time it if you have to. If you can afford it, if your family's economy can afford, that you can focus on school so that you can graduate and get a better career where you don't have to work full-time, it is completely a possibility. All right, but don't overextend yourself because you're gonna burn yourself out on both ends. On the job end, on school end, one of them is gonna give out, okay? Internships, which is another thing that people don't think about. Intern at a place, and they're like, oh, but that's only a young people's game. That's actually in everybody's game, to be quite honest, all right? If you're willing to intern at a company to learn the ropes, to do the job, they see how you work, they can offer you a job that way. But let's say, right now, that's not the point. Let's say you are going to work, but you still, you're going to school, but you still want work experience. Intern to build your resume somewhere. And a lot of people don't think about that. But intern to work, to put that on your resume while you're going to school. And they're more flexible with your schedule because you are a student. So it's less likely that they're going to burn you out like they would in a regular job. Things to think about, okay? Now, the last thing that I was gonna go over was just like job search tips for the here and now post-COVID. But because I am a little bit of a time crunch here, I'm going to send this to Lenny and have it share it with the rest of you who joined in on this Zoom today. Just go over these on your own. I'm also going to share a resources list that I personally use to give to my clients so they can search all different types of job boards, not just the general ones like Indeed or Monster or Career Builder. There's some niche ones that are really good because not all employers post in the same places. And just other tips here that you guys can abide by. So I'm going to send all of that to Lenny so he can share with the congregation. And of course, the last point I'm going to make, which is one that I did not put on here, was in regards to entrepreneurship. Okay. Now, I have to be quite honest with you. Everybody says that they would like to be a business owner, be their own boss. And that's amazing. That's what we need right now, is more entrepreneurship. The problem with that is that many people are not willing to put in the work to make it work. If your business lasts more than a year, you'll be fine. But it's in that 1 year that you will be working way more hours than your 9 to 5. We're talking about 10, 12 hours a day building that empire. It's going to be rough. But how you go about that is you sit with yourself and you create. The first step is to create a business plan. The business plan itself will ask you the questions that you need to answer for yourself. What is it that you want to sell? Why would people want to buy this? What do I need to do to get this product or service out there? Who are my competitors? The business plan will guide you on that. That's your roadmap to show you exactly how you're going to build your business. Once you have a business plan set, then you use that to go about saving the money, the capital that you need to buy the materials that you need to make your products or your service or your app work. Okay? Once you start making money, then you can hire people to help you and expand on the business. Okay? College will help you with that in the sense that they offer you programs that could help you put different aspects of your business together, like marketing, right? Like communications, like sales, like operations, like accounting. College will definitely give you that foundation you need to push it forward, but you need to invest in yourself in order for these things to happen, right? Quick pro tip there. If you want to know where you can get a business plan to at least start thinking about what you want to do, the New York Public Library has so many resources dedicated to just that alone. You go to any librarian, you ask them, you tell them, I want to start a business. What are the materials that I should gather? And they'll tell you, okay, business plan 101, here's a book for this, here's a thing for that. And you put it together. And that's how you start that. If you don't want to go the college route, you go straight to the New York Public Library. You tell them, I want to start a business. Specific library, 34th Street in Madison. If it's open, you go there or find it online. But they have all those resources there for you to start a business, and also the Small Business Association in New York City for anyone who wants to start a business. I don't care if you don't bub kiss, they will help you from A to Z, and it's free. Okay. All right, guys, opening the floor because it's now 6:10. All right, I'm looking at the chat to see if anyone had a question they want to kind of throw out there. I don't see anything in there, but is there anyone that wants to raise a hand? Okay, I see Edward. Edward, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself there. Ask your question.
Okay, Jamali, when picking a career, do you have to look at like educational subjects that you feel you're like, if you're good at? For example, if you are a good writer and every essay you write, you get good marks by your teachers in high school. And even when you're first year of college, you type your papers and you get good marks. Is that an indication that you should be looking for like English lit major or any job that requires that skill which you are good at? Is that a good determinant to go in that career path?
I would recommend that there are several courses. So it's not just like English and lit, right? You have your business communications, right? You have your journalist, which is also a writing career. So writing in itself is very broad.
Okay.
So what I would recommend is if you are able to take courses of these type, like writing things to kind of give you a sample of what that's like, that's where you start, is taking those courses, seeing what the fundamentals are about it and be like, okay, yes, this is something that I think I could do for practical purposes. That's the one thing. The second thing is maybe to talk to someone who does that particular career, like mentorship.